Okay, talking about tournaments. If we've had a development in the tournament debadging, badge strike, which was this one, if anyone's not familiar with this whole thing, there was a big write-up about we need to move it onwards, we need to change stuff, tournament committee need to change stuff. Wow, this has gotten... That's longer than I remember it. Okay, anyway. And it is this. It's the tournament committee announcement from the 6th of February. So this happened just before I left, actually. This happened just before I left for Hell. We've recently become aware of a document being passed around the tournament scene that more or less calls for a badge strike. It has been from the get-go drawn from a pool of engaged and experienced volunteers from the community that strive for the same thing that everybody interested in competition does, a better tournament scene. Reality is we haven't made the best calls at times, drawing very reasonable scrutiny from the community. After close consultation, we've worked out what we hope is a path forward that helps address some of the complaints, includes some retroactive things. Few of these changes were planned in advance during the last quarterly meeting, but many others has come about specifically to address mounting concerns around fairness to the broader tournament community. So, my Angel Kita gets the badge back. It actually gets the badge from the tournament. Made following the wiki guideline, simply qualifying as a member of the winning team is not enough. Expected to have reasonably participated in a given tournament. So, the original guideline designed to address a previous issue where teams would be stuffed with users who barely participated in order to farm badges or whatever. Which is fair. Understand that draft tournaments, careful consideration, without the knowledge being the original captain of the team, thus responsible for the lion's share of the initial draft. Badge restored. Let's go. Firstly, let's go. That's great one already. Restoration of the perennials denied tri-badge. There is a big write-up about this. There was a big argument about this at the time. People were very upset with this being denied its tri-badge. Essentially, they used a track with definitive issues. It was fully not allowed in tournaments, even before the whole thing was made public. But it was a featured artist track. Now, it wasn't in the featured artist listings, but it was a track from a featured artist that wasn't essentially cleared for use in OSU. Existing protocol for issues with tri-badge tournaments is more or less to the tune of there are no strikes, do not make mistakes. Even if those mistakes do not actually affect competitive integrity in any way. Great deal of internal awareness about the fact that many tournament committee members are directly involved in these sorts of things, and a pervasive desire to not be seen as providing undue priority or benefit. So, it was ran by Chilia and Dio, right? And they are members of the tournament committee, and they don't want to be seen as, like, they're insiders so they get favorable treatment, which is why the whole thing popped off in the first place. So it punished the second and third place teams for a singular operational issue. Team felt they had no real choice but to apply the denial in this instance because essentially they didn't want to feed into the perception of tournament committee members acting to favor tournament committee tournaments. Completely fair. Should probably be more obvious which featured artists only allow certain tracks to be used. Every track that is allowed to be used in OSU has featured artists next to its name. That's just how it goes. Some FAs only allow the tracks in their FA listing. Yeah, that's the point. They are the ones that are fully cleared for use in OSU. Artists like Camellia have some songs that are specifically for other games, and so don't get the featured artist tag because they're not cleared for use within OSU. It's for a different game, for Bimani, for whatever else. So they were really strict with themselves, and they took their badge away, basically. They're restoring the second and third place badges, and they're also doing it for other tournaments. So it's a good faith extension of the same leniency involved to the perennial. Not retry badging Corsace. That I think is being mentioned later or talked about later because it wasn't the same. Okay, it just isn't the same as this sort of one mismanagement, meaning two badges just do not get awarded to losing teams. Changes to participation assessment. One map is bare minimum threshold, and that's also fair. More weight to badge removal decisions. As long as bare participation requirements are met, no issues will err towards preserving people's awarded badges. Also fair. Clearly rigged to let you keep your speed cup badge. Hey, if I can be a precedent to be set for other people going forwards, that's what I'm here for, okay? That's all I do. I make mischief so that the mischief can start making itself. You know what I mean? So, different ways of handling errors. I read this document before I started, just to make sure I knew what I was getting into, and this completely fits what I was saying about badges. So badges used to be proof of a win and the endorsement of Osu as a game for the tournament that player won. So was essentially the badge was the dev team, the team that owns the game's way of saying, we thought this tournament was good, and so we'd also like to endorse it with a badge on someone's profile. The community, and especially tournament players, now see badges more as just proof of that win, rather than an official endorsement. I wasn't aware of this, really. I wasn't really aware of the fact that they saw it as an endorsement from them, like them saying, this is good. You can sit back and think like, yeah, actually, were badges ever seen that way in the first place? There may have been a miscommunication somewhere, or like a difference in viewpoint, that now seeing it from their side, I can actually see, yeah, sure, you don't endorse what this tournament was, and so there's no badge awarded for it. Very fair, but from the community's perspective, unfair, because you're not being given what you are essentially owed. Quote, like, owed. So we'll be experimenting with using hosting bans in place of debadging tournaments, in air quotes. Hosting bans prevent an organizer from badging another tournament while active, used in cases where a host error would otherwise result in a tournament losing its badge status but does not compromise the competitive integrity. So what this is essentially what I was saying about badges being awarded before a tournament starts. So if you play it, you'll get the badge, and then the host will be told off, essentially. The host will be put under sanction and said, look, you did not run a tournament that matched the prestige of being badged, and so your next tournament, you need to do that again to get the badge. Which essentially is like exactly what we wanted, right? It's exactly what is fair to people. Put the onus on organizers to effectively run every tournament so that they're able to continue running officially supported tournaments. So then you would have to step back from the host role, you would have to pass it to someone else, or you would have to get involved in other tournaments and bring your standing back up to be able to run another badge tournament. This is great. This is great. Essentially, they can debadge the tournament, so if there is something bad goes on, or it's just not deserving of a badge, it's kind of like, yeah, of course they're not going to badge it. Another great step forward. Might be tested with Dio's 1v1 tournaments. Already had 98 forfeits. Ooh, my God. Oh, I felt that in my stomach. What? No, you're kidding. 98 forfeits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh my God, man. 11, 12, oh no, Okay, so also greater transparency and public meetings. So this was announced in the tournament server after that, or in the tournament channel of the dev server. These meetings will take place on the 3rd or 4th weekend of every month. Each meeting will be scheduled as an event here in the Osu dev server. First of these meetings takes place this weekend, Saturday 15th of February at 15 UTC. So if you have opinions that you need heard, if you want them heard, if you want to join the discussion, yeah, hop into the Osu dev server. But yeah, essentially, they're listening, I think. So we got Peppy saying, keep in mind our goal here is to provide enjoyment. We want to block the fewest tournaments possible. Wherever possible, tournament hosts should be given a path to fix issues rather than removing the badge as a first step. A lot of the issues pointed out sound like they should have been handled with a less stern approach. Just try and think of this as not a gatekeeping operation, but a partnership to help all tournaments hit the quality goals we strive for. Which is nice. It's a great message, honestly. It's a great message. I like this doc. I really like this doc. Checklists to simplify expectations for both badge quality and tri-badge quality. Also goes for a table of situations we've voted on in the past. So we're going to see some like retroactive votes. We're going to see the outcomes of them. Everything is going to be a lot more transparent, a lot more public. Official communications from the tournament committee will focus less on professional language and more on making sure the content's delivered as quickly and effectively as possible. Which is also good. It's exactly what we want, because we don't want things to be two groups of people against each other, because we're all here to make good tournaments. We're all here to make sure tournaments are good. Important to note that the relaxation on conduct-related issues does not mean that Osu condones or want to be associated with any of that behavior. Badges will likely be awarded during the course of any affected tournaments, but future tournaments under the same name or with the same/similar staffing lineups may be outright refused official support at the screening phase if efforts are not made to adhere to expected standards. Which is great. Yeah, good document. How much of this document fixes some of the issues here? Let's have a look. Stronger transparency and community involvement over the tournament badge decision-making process. They've made a system that shows how many voted. They've also made a system for a checklist. So yes, good. More accessible space dedicated to getting questions and concerns answered. And yeah, they're doing this. They're doing a monthly town hall so that you can discuss issues, problems, which is exactly what we asked for. Tournaments unbadged for poor map pool quality, a proper documentation. So we haven't actually seen anything about this. I feel like this will be discussed in the first town hall, though. This is one of those things that hasn't appeared here, because there's ways of handling errors. There's all of this badge restoration and stuff, but nothing about map pools. So this still stands. Essentially, the first two here have been met. The next three, I guess. And they've opened up tournament committee applications as well, so that you can just use the form in that news post at any point. From this document, what they haven't addressed yet is the third point, the fourth point, which arguably has been addressed through the public meetings, transparency with votes and outcomes. Yeah, those two. So the transparency in the meetings, so the threads, the forum threads, publicizing the votes, all of that, they've pretty much met this one. I don't think this has been met, but this second section was. There was a statement from the group recognizing that there was very reasonable scrutiny. There we go. That's enough of an acknowledgement for me, to be honest. So it's just this talk that I think is going to be coming soon, and I would assume that this might not happen. I don't know. And that's pretty much it that is left to address from this document. Everything else, they have been fully met. A really nice document. Genuinely. I'm looking forward to more change coming.